Evil Planet.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Evil Planet. Tonight, I'm joined by Just Gord. Tryptamine is sitting this one out. They got some stuff to do. Gord, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, but I'm also sad because an American hero was shot and killed. Okay. But being serious though, like a shit storm, a shit tidal wave, the shit tsunami is coming.
Yes.
Because Charlie was assassinated, politically assassinated potentially.
I was extremely surprised when it happened. I don't remember exactly what I saw first. I know one of the first things I saw, and I've heard this from many people, was the video. There's multiple videos, but the one that people keep talking about is the close-up one. There's
two that I've seen. The far away one where you see, you just see him drop. And when I saw that one, my heart stopped. It's very disturbing. And then you see the close-up one, and it's even more brutal. If you haven't seen it, I advise never watching it.
Yeah, one thing I've seen a lot of people comment on was just the volume of blood and how quickly it was coming out. I'll just leave it at that. It was definitely very disturbing. He hit a peculiar pose. I guess I don't think that's a rigor mortis. I guess that sets in later, but I think so. Yeah. I'm not a mortician.
I've heard people say he died immediately. I heard people say he died in the hospital. That's like a 5-minute drive from the college. Apparently they just loaded him up into someone's car and just drove him as quick as possible.
Yeah, there's a video out there I saw of like 5 or 6 people just carrying him. Like they're like, go, 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 or something like that. And they just rush him into a vehicle. And like you said, I guess they drove him to the hospital. I don't know if this is confirmed. I don't think anyone's ever going to confirm this, but it seems like they were keeping, like, either they kept him alive for a certain amount of time, which is insane considering the injury. Some other people were speculating that they didn't want to announce he was dead until he was officially announced dead, and then they could talk to like his wife and kids and all that first before making it a story. Apparently the first person who heard that he died was the president, and he had to announce it on Truth Social immediately. Yeah, I don't know if he was the first. He was almost certainly one of the first people to hear it through the grapevine, but
it was 2 hours after I heard it happen to him. We were talking, me and my girlfriend, we were talking about like, oh man, do you think he's going to live?
Yeah, a lot of people were speculating that he may survive it, but no.
Yeah, but then the president just pulled that rug out from under my feet. Nope, he's dead.
Yeah,
Charlie Kirk, actually, let me see if I can find the Truth Social post. I sent it to my girlfriend. I'll read it. 1 second.
I'll say this too. The funniest way I've heard this described, the president doing this, was that the president scooped everyone else on Charlie Kirk's death.
Yes. Okay,
I gotta let everyone know.
Yes, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife Erica and family. Charlie, we love you.
His very beautiful wife. She's very bodacious. If I was younger, I may have married her myself.
If she was younger, I'd definitely marry her now.
Oh, man. Yeah, what am I saying? If I was younger, he doesn't give a shit.
No.
It's funny, too, because, and I think fucking Kimmel pointed this out right before his show got yanked. Trump clearly did not give a shit. Like, he was asked, like, in the following days, like, how are you holding up after, the traumatic death of your very close friend, Charlie Kirk? He's like, I'm doing very well. By the way, look over here. We have some dump trucks and some work trucks. They're bringing supplies over to build this grand ballroom. They've wanted to do this for 150 years. They've never been able to do it, but I'm doing it now.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
He doesn't give a shit.
I heard some conservatives cope about that too. Oh, the president, he doesn't want to talk about it.
He doesn't want to talk about it. Okay, he's gonna start crying.
He would have gotten super emotional. We can't see the president get emotional and cry on camera, even though like he could have given a much better response, and I think it would have been stronger if in the face of adversity, in the face of turmoil, he could actually give an impassioned speech about his dear friend. But he couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump.
He can only post about it on social media. That's the best he can do. He can have someone else write a post for him, and he can type it out.
Listen, I like winners, I like survivors, and I was shot myself. I didn't die. Charlie Kirk. That's all I'm gonna say, folks. He's gonna come out with some shit like that a year from now.
I got shot at 78 years old. He got shot at 31. I'm doing a lot better.
Many people are saying this. I'm not gonna say it because it's not very tasteful, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. But we have to say before we go forward, hey, we do not support the killing of Charlie Kirk. We honestly, after you and I both watched it, like we didn't want that to happen at all. If anything, my preferred scenario would have been some lib would have just ended his career during one of his events by like owning him with facts and logic. But it's never going to happen now. We're never going to get to see the downfall of the media empire, which is turning. Well, I guess it's not a media empire, is it? Turning
Toilet Paper USA. Dude, I don't even know what it is at this point because when I looked up some stuff that we are going to cover later in the article, it was at least originally, I don't know if it still is, like a charitable or a non-profit, but it's set up in such a weird way. And at this point, it doesn't even matter because if they violate a bunch of shit, you know what I mean? Like the fucking right-wing fucking administration, or not administration, I would say the right-wing regime at this point will just cover it up for them and make it go away. So it doesn't matter. But it's a very shady organization. It's essentially like, I guess you could say if it's still a nonprofit or charity, but it exists as like basically just a slush fund and organization for right-wing propaganda. Yeah,
but they're... like I said, I wish that Turning Point USA would have went the way of the Daily Wire. I wish that they would have just become irrelevant. It
would have been pretty satisfying to see like Charlie get canceled by like cheating on his wife with like I don't know, like Blair White or something, and it just like blew up the whole scene, and everyone's like, "What the fuck, Charlie?" On the right, they're like, "I can't believe this! I can't believe you ruined your marriage."
Or to like just have like a Steven Crowder moment. That would have been way more preferable to what happened.
I don't think we have this in what we have in the document here, but I'll just say this. Have you heard the conspiracy theories? And I will say again, there are conspiracy theories about Israel and like Mossad being behind Charlie's assassination.
So I listen to the Tim Dillon show every once in a while because I think Tim Dillon is a legitimately funny guy. I don't agree with him on everything. I don't agree with his excuse to go to Saudi Arabia to do comedy there.
He is one of the most shameless shills.
Yeah, but in his defense, he's being very open about being a shill.
I mean, I don't think that makes it better, but that is true. I was just saying, like, he really is one of the most shameless shills. Like, and he seems proud of it.
Yeah, but I will give him props on calling out Israel. He's been doing that a lot lately. He's been saying stuff like that makes me think that he's more of like a Gaza supporter than like an Israel supporter. He's pointing out that like Barry Weiss getting picked up, like their company getting picked up for like $250 million is kind of fishy.
Did you see the clip though, where he said that I could be wrong, but I swear to God, I've seen a clip of Tim Dillon saying that if Israel pays him enough, he'll shut up about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised.
He's basically like, see, I don't know, man, because like, not to completely dismiss your point, but it does make me think. Like, I've seen him talk about what's going on in Gaza, but just now I'm like, wait a minute, what if he's just saying that shit and then talking about how much of a shill he is in hopes that Netanyahu gives him a bag so he shuts up about it? What if it's him just fishing for a bag?
Maybe Netanyahu kills him. Who knows?
Oh man,
I'm pretty. And to be fair, he has made that joke before. He's made the joke that like rich and powerful people will kill him. But yeah, I don't think Netanyahu's going to give him money. He's like a Rogan. He's like a Roganite. But he's like one of the rare Roganites that I feel like hasn't committed like a full Sui. He doesn't have those Sui eyes as
well, he's always got the sunglasses on, so how can you tell?
You're right.
He's hiding the Sui eyes. I mean, from what I've seen on Tim Dillon, I would personally say that I think he has completely sold his soul, but that's just me.
Well, this is how I know he hasn't sold his soul to Rogan. He will legitimately like get in front of him and say that like Austin, Texas is a shitty city, and he was an idiot for building the comedy mothership.
Yeah, no,
there.
that is true. I've heard a lot of people speculate though that because the tide seems to be turning publicly against Rogan, a lot of people are comfortable with it now. I don't know though. I wish I knew Tim Dillon better so I could give a more definitive potentially answer. But to me, he just like, I don't know, man. I feel like almost sometimes it's almost worse when you know what's going on and you acknowledge it, and then you're like, pay me, and I'll shut up about it. I don't know. A lot of people in that sphere are very strange. Like Theo Vaughn has cried tears about what's going on in Gaza, but then he goes and hangs out with like Donald Trump and then his fucking kids and Jared Kushner. It's like,
yeah.
It's like crying about the Holocaust while it's going on and then going and fucking hanging out with like Goebbels. Like, all right.
Did he have Netanyahu on?
Tim Dillon or
no, Theo Vaughn.
I think he may have. Let me check. I know Netanyahu went on a lot of these podcasts.
Yeah,
but he did have Bassem Youssef on, so that's interesting. Zionism recently and like what's going on with the genocide in Palestine. Yeah. It doesn't look like Theo Vaughn has had him on. Oh, wait, hold up. I want to mention this because this is important. As I'm looking, Theo Vaughn did have a doctor from Gaza on, Aziz Rahman, I believe that's his name. So it seems like Theo Vaughn is potentially going in more the direction of like, this is fucked up and we need to stop this. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's super consistent, but I don't fucking know, man. Theo Vaughn's a weird guy. Have you seen the clip of him like choking somebody out for like being like, hey, dude, can I get a picture with you?
No, I haven't.
That's very strange. Theo Vaughn's background too. I'm trying to be like more measured with what I say about the stuff these days. So I'll just say this. It doesn't look good. Like I'll just say this quick and then go ahead with what you're going to say, but he's like the son of like some sort of like European fucking, what was it called? Sorry, go ahead with what you're saying. Let me look this up so I don't speak out of turn.
I remember him talking about how he grew up poor, and you're telling me he's the son of, or at least like a relative to money, like European wealth. That's crazy.
Let me see. It was like Vaughn something. Oh,
is that an Asian accent? Puppy. Was your name actually Poppy and then it's Bob? How many little newborn dogs come when people call you like, hey, puppy? They're like, oh, puppy.
Yeah, so Theo Vaughn that's not his actual name for what I'm seeing here. I'm trying to find it, but it's like, oh, here we go.
Theo Vaughn's father was Roland Theodore Achilles Vaughn
Kernatowski.
Senior.
Theo Vaughn is not, in fact, a poor Florida swamp cutie, but actually the heir of the Von Kernatowski family, a Polish nobility family that traces back to the 16th century, being notably close to Tsar Nicholas II, and with the family motto, we swim in the blood of our enemies.
Okay.
He was part of his father's second illegitimate family, so he was not an heir. There you go. Some details there. His dad had two families. Theo said his other family was pretty fancy, and his side didn't really see any of that. So that's the talk about Theo Vaughn going through the grapevine there.
So Florida, I thought he was from Louisiana.
Oh no, that was like somebody joking. I'd just seen a thing where somebody's like, actually, he's from Louisiana. When he grew up, his neighbor was David Duke, and he said David Duke was actually a great guy, and they worked out together and stuff. So yeah, David Duke of the KKK.
Yeah.
Theo Vaughn is a strange individual. I'll say that. Anyways. We're digressing a little bit, but it's all good. We love to digress here on the show.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Charlie some more before we get into anything else.
Yeah.
So just getting back into the flow, you and I are definitely not on the same side as Charlie Kirk.
No.
Yeah.
Putting it lightly.
We would say we are on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we'll get into it here, but to be honest, like, I don't think I know confidently what Charlie Kirk actually believed.
Right. Because there are videos of Charlie Kirk saying, "Hey, we need to release the Epstein list," and then like a month later, we do not need to release the Epstein list, because Trump's
My friends
on
in the
Epstein
administration
list.
told me to stop talking about it, so I'm going to be a good little boy and cuck myself to daddy.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government.
Yeah, how much of this was him just being a paid mouthpiece to spout conservative ideology and to indoctrinate the youth of America?
So we'll get into it more when we read the articles about it shortly, but Charlie Kirk was on Fox News and doing this shit with TPUSA when he was 18. He never had a real job out of high school or anything. He immediately went from high school into this. So if he wasn't groomed per se into doing this shit, then he was, I think, just a soulless shill from the beginning. I think maybe at one point, and maybe it continued on, like he had principles, but I don't know, like if you read, like maybe you could say he came around on it, but if you read some of these articles, and I was looking into shit, like back in 20, I think here, was it 20, I think it was 2012, 2013.
Yes.
Right around the time that he started doing this shit out of high school, like for real, like really setting this shit up. He was, he seemed like he was either more moderate, as people like to call him these days, or he was maybe putting on those airs. It's hard to say, but he was playing it a little safer back then, for sure. See, this is the thing too, when you try and be nuanced about it, like, and maybe give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he was always really fucked up, maybe he became more like extreme over time, or maybe this is just the Overton window shifting because of, the last 10 years of Trump being fucking around, being president, being influential.
I was going to say it's the Overton window shifting because being outrageous and saying insane shit gets clicks and views, especially when you can spin it in a way that sounds reasonable to some people.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, if you have any sense and any like, I don't know, fucking empathy and any sense of like morality or anything, and you're not some weird, insane racist, then most of this is going to come off as very unreasonable, I would say.
What's crazy is, so my girlfriend, right, did not know who Charlie Kirk was. She had maybe seen like one clip of his, and she's a very like normie kind of political person. Like she doesn't really pay attention to politics all that much. And I'd say like most of the country doesn't pay attention to politics, at least half, right? Like, but they might have seen like one of his clips like on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram or on TikTok. And they might have at one point said, maybe he has a point, and then scrolled and then never saw him ever again.
Yeah.
So when my girlfriend heard about Charlie Kirk passing, she was very upset about it because, like any other human being, and I think you and me both felt this too, when you get shot in front of your wife and kids, in front of, an audience there to see you, that's not a good thing, but
I'll just say this in response to that. We're going to get to a quote from Charlie where he pretty much advocates that being done to other people. So
right.
I'll just say that.
I'm getting to that. So then my girlfriend starts hearing about all of the things he said. Can I read a few of these?
I mean, do you want to start with any specific section? I hate to section all the fuck shit he had to say over the years into like different sections. So go ahead, if you want.
How about I start with general unhinged insanity?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Or actually, no, this should hit a little bit closer to home because hold on, let's do queer people and women because my girlfriend is she's a Swiftie. So this probably, and this is also something he recently said. Yeah. Charlie Kirk said Taylor Swift should reject feminism and submit to her husband, and also that women's natural place was under the control of their husband, and that he would be excited to go see not a Taylor Swift concert, but a Taylor Kelsey concert, and that getting married and having kids just turns you more conservative.
He straight up told women when they'd come up to him at these debates, quote unquote, and they'd say, "Oh, I think I want to be a reporter. I think I want to do this and that in life. He'd say, you know what? Fuck all that. You should just go have kids and marry and just be a housewife.
You think having a career is going to fulfill you? No, you need to be barefoot and pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So my girlfriend heard that he said stuff like that, and then she was like, "Ew." I'm not going to say she didn't feel bad for him, or think that what happened to him was wrong.
She got some context, you might say.
Yeah. Like the rose tinted shades, they fell off.
Yeah. Since you already started reading from this section, let's read the other stuff here. So, Charlie said that gay people should be stoned to death under God's perfect law. Some people were trying to debate that and say, like, oh, he didn't say that gay people should be stoned to death. He said that under God's perfect law. Like, whatever, dude. Split that atomic hair if you want to. It's so fucking small you need an atomic microscope to fucking see it.
Didn't Jesus Christ say he who is without sin should cast the first stone? Very evangelical of Charlie. All right, let me read the next one. Advise parents to prevent their daughters from taking birth control. So you just want teen pregnancy.
Obviously, what he would say is that you need to teach abstinence and that birth control, Gore, don't you know birth control promotes being a whore? Okay. According to Toilet Paper USA, my favorite charitable organization.
Some women take birth control not because they want to have unprotected sex, but, because it helps with certain functions that I'm not going to get into because I don't understand them completely.
I've heard some horror stories about certain birth control medications. Like, they can actually fuck you up. But, that's the thing. Like, there's alternatives to some of them. You can have informed consent, or you should have informed consent where you're told about the side effects potentially of this stuff, so on and so forth. But no, Charlie Kirk thinks that it should just be completely off the table. Yeah. I want to fucking segue into this next thing here, though. Kirk was asked in his Jubilee appearance how he would respond if his own daughter were raped and became pregnant. His response was, "The baby would be delivered."
And this was at the age of 10. How would you feel about this? And Charlie Kirk, by the way, I think at this time he has 2 daughters. I could be wrong about that.
I don't believe any of them are 10, but I think this is a hypothetical.
No, I think it's 1 and 3, but still, you have two infants, or not infants, but you have an infant and a toddler, and I don't know how you could look at them and say, hey, you have to carry this monster's child, but whatever. I think that this is more of him just being a mouthpiece, because if you really break down stuff, a lot of this conservative talk is rules for thee, not for me. This is how society should work, but somehow I'm outside of society, and my case is special, so I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want because I have money.
Well, for a lot of right-wingers, like, they don't even give a fuck, especially the super extreme ones like this. Like, they'll straight up, if they're honest, they'll say, yeah, I don't believe in free speech for leftists. I believe in free speech for right-wingers. And this is the kind of shit that, like, they're basically like, no, you can't do that, but I can do that if I get into that situation because I'm special, like you're saying. Like, that's basically how they view it. Like, so much of the right-wing worldview is like, I'm not going to give a fuck about anything bad that's happening to other people, and the only time I'm ever even going to give this a moment of thought is if it happens to me or somebody that I care about. And it still won't change their fucking mind. It still won't make them think and actually fucking adapt. It's very fucking weird that happens. In this section, the last thing I have here is just generally, you can find tons of examples of this. Kirk constantly denied transgender identity, called it a fetish that perverts forced onto other people. He made various foul comments about trans people that I'm not going to repeat on here. You can find so many videos of him doing the Matt Walsh fucking rhetorical bit where he's like, what is a woman? What is a woman? Can you define woman for me? Oh, give me a definition out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Can you define woman for me, please? And it's always this rhetorical trick that they try and do. Because they have an idea of how you're going to potentially answer. And it's like fucking G-Man from back in the day. Like, have you ever seen a canine turn into a non-canine? It's like that type of shit where they basically try and predict what you're going to say and then have like a canned response. And then if you even go off script for a second, they'll start berating you and try and like force you back into the position that they want you to take so that they can tear it down. And by tear it down, I mean just give their fucking canned zinger.
Also, if you look at like any dictionary, there can be multiple definitions for a word, right? Like a woman, number one definition could be someone of the biological sex female. The second definition could be someone who exhibits feminine traits, right?
A dictionary doesn't determine what a word means. It describes how a word is used. That's what people don't fucking understand. Like, words don't like get made up by people who write. And I'm not even like replying to you and what you're saying, but like I'm more like backing you up because this is so ridiculous. And the best way that I've heard it simplified is that dictionaries and definitions are descriptive. They're not prescriptive. There are some words that colloquially have like multiple meanings that contradict each other, like the word literally. You can say it's the word being misused, but that's still how it's being used a lot of the time. You know, unfortunately, this is just how language evolves. But back to what you're saying too, I want to mention, not every dictionary has the same definition of a word. Like there are multiple instances where you can find maybe not completely contradictory definitions of words, but ones that are laid out very differently. And the whole what is a woman thing too is just completely fucking absurd because they're trying to basically use some sort of scientific, like, because they know this shit is shaky. They want to use some sort of scientific basis, like, oh, it's XX and XY chromosomes, and that's it at the end of the day. But it's not that simple, and that's not how it pans out in reality. With like, there's intersex people, and they make no effort to explain away any of the actual scientists who come out and say, no, you don't understand, you're misrepresenting like what this actually is. They'll just say, oh, those are woke. Those are woke scientists paid by George Soros to spew gay propaganda.
This reminds me of when Plato tried to define a man as a featherless biped, and Diogenes, the based
he brought
Diogenes,
him a chicken,
yeah. And then he proclaimed, "Look, I bring you man."
Oh man, it's so funny knowing that probably didn't happen, but it effectively did happen in all of our minds.
I mean, Alexander the Great visited this man, and Diogenes said, "You're blocking my son. Move."
Definitely happened. Let me get.
If it's memed enough, it might as well have.
What's that quote? If the truth becomes legend, print the legend, or something like that. Anyways.
Yes.
Kirk. Oh, sorry. Let me preface this by saying this is the racism and white supremacy section. There's so much going on here. It's like Islamophobia and.
Yeah, this is a very long section.
Yes. Kirk. So I'll start with this one. Kirk once said, "Black people were better off in slavery and subjugation." This is a direct quote. They were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? They committed less crimes. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about in the 1940s. I guess he's talking about specifically like Jim Crow and shit like that.
Yeah, he means before the Civil Rights Act in the 60s.
I was about to say, yeah, I guess any time before the Civil Rights Act is good for him. European colonialism is good and it made the world a better place. He also said that. He said specifically about MLK Jr. that he was an awful person. Charlie just continually shat on MLK Jr. all the time.
This is why I like Zoran Mamdani, because Zoran Mamdani takes every opportunity he has to mention MLK, and he does it perfectly. Like anytime he can quote Dr. Martin Luther King, he does it. And he does it flawlessly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you said, he said that MLK Jr. was an awful person, continually shat on his legacy while also saying black politicians steal their positions from white people.
Yeah, he said that type. Dude, Charlie said that type of shit a lot. I'll just read this here because this is basically the same thing. Oh, go ahead, bro.
He wasn't Nazi enough for guys like Nick Fuentes, which now that I'm thinking about it, after reading all of these quotes and hearing about Charlie Kirk's history, Charlie Kirk was Nick Fuentes before Nick Fuentes was Nick Fuentes, right?
Well, the thing is, too, sorry, I'll just say this because this is a key point. Charlie will basically say all this stuff, but then refuse to be like, yep, I'm a neo-Nazi. That's what's up. Hitler was based. That's why they hate him.
Yeah, he's more optical. But if you think about it, though, Charlie Kirk started Turning Point USA, and Nick Fuentes kind of tried to do the same thing back in 2016.
Well, the Groyper Wars, you're familiar with all that, right?
A little bit, yeah. I know that he would set up his convention near the Turning Point convention. You can find video of Nick Fuentes and a bunch of weirdos chanting "Groyper, Groyper, Groyper," just at like some mall.
Yeah, that whole Groyper War thing. I think that Nick was, I don't know if I'd say jealous, but I think he strategically tried to peel off, as like, maybe he was, maybe that's an immature way of putting it, I don't know, definitely immature people involved, but I think he tried to just peel as many people away from Charlie as possible because he saw the people that were going in that direction. He's probably like, these people are probably susceptible to this fucking shit that I'm spewing, so let me take these people that are like already like 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there, and I'll turn them into full-on neo-Nazis.
Yeah, let me take all of the people who have been rejected by Charlie Kirk and his ilk, and let's grab all of those people up, and let's make them a part of our organization. Let's take their money.
You know, I was thinking about getting all the dregs in my organization, but then I said to myself, what if we got the dregs of the dregs? That'd be much better. It's concentrated shit. It's beautiful. It's like gold.
And this is why a lot of people on the left thought that the assassin was a Groyper, is because of the feud with Charlie Kirk that they had. And they still think that,
the full fucking story isn't even out. We don't need to necessarily get into that now, but I'll say this. The stuff that the feds are putting out, nobody fucking believes it.
Yeah,
nobody
like
fucking believes this shit. I don't fucking believe that shit.
The letter to the quote-unquote boyfriend.
Yeah, the note that they said was destroyed, but then they got somebody else to admit what was written on it. That's fucking convenient.
They said the note was destroyed.
They said, okay, from what I've seen, and they're constantly changing the story, like the FBI, fucking Kash Patel, fucking clown. They said that there was a note that had an admission on it that was destroyed or partially destroyed. But then they used either forensics to determine what it said, or they got somebody else to admit to what was written on it. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I think most of the shit that they're saying is bullshit, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there's a lack of evidence there, and I don't think that's going to hold up in court. I think that they're just saying that so they can push a narrative.
Dude, we're entering the era of feds fumbling these cases like never before. Like them trying to charge Luigi Mangione with terrorism and trying to get capital fucking punishment. And they failed. That it's dropped now.
Yeah. I was looking at some pictures of these are like AI enhanced pictures of the shooter, quote unquote, at the event.
Yeah, I can't trust the AI enhanced stuff because
I can't either. But
you know why I completely dismiss it? Can I just tell you? Have you ever used AI image enhancers? Because I have extensive experience with them. I don't like using that shit, but if I need to like increase the resolution on an image to like use it in something, I will. I avoid it though. But dude, I have used it on like pictures of Jared that are really low quality, and they have like given him like beautiful eyes, cleared up his skin, gotten rid of like his fat features on his face. Like, dude, that shit will literally turn a picture of somebody into a picture of somebody else entirely.
That's what I'm looking at right now. These you remember seeing the blurry pictures of the guy wearing the hat with the glasses. He's in the black long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
The picture, the AI enhanced picture, his chin is completely different. His lips are completely different. His nose is completely different. The only thing that's the same.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
The only thing that's the same is that it's a skinny white guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, back to this, because we still have quite a bit to go through. Kind of in line with what you were talking about a second ago. Charlie Kirk said that black people take jobs away from white people, and that when he sees a quote, this is a quote here, stupid black woman, quote, working a job, he wonders if they stole the job from a competent white person. In line with what we were talking about before about the Civil Rights Act, Charlie came out and said straight up that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. He just outright says it. So
advocated for the white supremacist idea of the Great Replacement theory.
Yeah. Apparently, though, he's not Nazi enough for the Great.
Yeah, white people are just being pushed out of the country. It's being taken over by black and brown people and foreigners. So,
fucking ridiculous, man. Moving on to we were talking about Zoran before. He got angry when Zoran won the NYC primary because, quote, Muslims did 9/11.
I said this before we started recording. Muslims make up like a quarter of the world. So what? So a quarter of the world is just bad. I can't believe that. This is
imagine next time like somebody shoots up a school, you're just like, I can't believe Christians did this. You find out they like went to church.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Said that George Floyd had it coming and that he was a scumbag junkie.
Yeah.
This is can we digress for a second?
Sure.
This is why I don't understand about the conservative idea that he was killed by fentanyl, right? Have you ever seen anyone high on fentanyl?
Yeah.
They are like the living dead. They're walking zombies. They are hunched over.
Oh, I've seen the fentanyl. Yeah. That's how I know it was fent.
Yeah, barely able to move. And you're telling me that this guy who you threw to the ground, who was just inside of a gas station paying for like a pack of cigarettes and a lottery ticket with a fake $20 bill, I don't believe that.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. I mean, they said he had fentanyl in his system. I'm not sure what the amount was, but he certainly was not high as fuck on fent trying to use a counterfeit bill. And that's another thing, too. They're like, he was using a counterfeit bill. He had a history of this. He had a history of that. He was a drug user. He had all these drugs in his system. It's like, okay, I don't think anybody's necessarily debating that. But, like, you bringing that up, you're completely missing the fucking point. The whole goddamn point of this was that he did not deserve to be murdered in the fucking street by a law enforcement agency with no due process or anything. He wasn't even officially charged with anything as far as I know. They barely arrested this guy and he's just dead. They murdered him.
Yeah, you had people around the police officer saying, hey, get your knee off of his neck. He can't breathe.
Yeah.
You're killing him.
And the right wingers will fucking come out of the woodwork and say, I can't believe you said this horrible thing about Charlie Kirk. He had a wife and kids. George Floyd had a fucking wife. I'm pretty sure he had kids too. I know he at one point had a fucking family. I don't know if that like fell apart, but that's not fucking important. Everybody has a fucking family at some point. Everybody has fucking parents. This is what these extreme fucking like neo-Nazis want people to do. They want people to get into the weeds with this shit, arguing about this shit and constantly being on the defense. Anyways, it's just fucking frustrating, man. Kirk also said that Muslims only come to America to intentionally destabilize Western civilization.
I know that that's not true. I know from like firsthand experience that that's not true.
Well, it's just ridiculous. Like, people who are of the Islamic faith are not a fucking monolith. Just like people who are Christians, just like people in the Jewish community, just like people who are fucking Hindu or Buddhist or whatever. It's stupid.
I have foreign friends. I have a few of them who are Muslim, and some of them are first generation immigrants. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to come over to this country. They're trying to get their green card, and they're trying to sponsor their family so that they can come over here so that they can live a better life with more freedoms, with better education, with less pollution. They're just trying to have a better quality overall life.
Yeah, like a lot of the things that these insane people on the right will say is something like this. This is something I've heard before. They'll say that Muslims want to come to America and turn America into a caliphate that's ruled by Sharia law, you know? And it's just nonsense. Like, America has, I believe, the fourth or fifth highest population in the world of any country. Mm-hmm. How the fuck are you going to manage? How the fuck are you going to manage that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is the way that they're framing it too, is that people are coming over to America when they don't share any of the quote unquote traditional American values or contemporary American values, so that they can have a bunch of kids, so that in a couple of 100 years they can, outbreed the whites or whatever insane thing that they're coming up with, and then turn America into a caliphate. Like, it's just paranoid, insane, delusional, like, nonsense.
You ever think that maybe they tried to escape the caliphate?
No, that doesn't occur to right-wingers who are spouting this bullshit.
And do you ever think that, second generation immigrants, the children of immigrants are usually more Americanized? I just don't get their logic. Okay. Let me read the next one.
Sure.
Charlie said that Palestinians do not exist, or that Palestine doesn't exist, and denied the existence of a Palestinian identity.
Yeah, he pretty much said Palestinian people don't exist. He's like, that's nonsense.
Does he not understand that like Israel wasn't there before World War II?
He doesn't care. Like this goes back to what we were talking about before with Charlie just kind of going with the flow of, whether his audience or his donors or whatever, like whatever he prioritizes in the moment. Back to what we were saying in the beginning of the show too about Charlie Kirk getting shot, and then this conspiracy cropping up about Netanyahu and the Mossad being responsible. People on the right were saying, oh, if you actually paid attention to what Charlie Kirk said before about Israel and what he was saying more recently, his position was kind of shifting. It was becoming more and more untenable to be a pro-Israel Republican when it comes to, him talking to younger people, because most of the pro-Israel Republicans are the much older and potentially middle-aged ones. Like the ones that are our age or younger, like in their 20s or younger, they're not fucking pro-Israel, at least not overwhelmingly. So you could say that he was audience captured and shifting his position to match more what, was beneficial for him trying to appeal to like all these young Republicans or young right-wingers. And I heard this too, take this with a grain of salt, but I heard that Netanyahu invited Charlie Kirk to Israel, and then Charlie Kirk refused. And then after that, or maybe around the same time or after that, you know who Bill Ackman is, right?
No.
Well, Bill Ackman, he's basically like a money man and a fucking like ghoul. I'm pretty sure he's a billionaire. You see him on Twitter all the time posting stupid shit.
He's like
he got
Epstein.
Charlie Kirk. No comment.
Okay.
For legal reasons, no comment. But this guy, Bill Ackman, got Charlie Kirk into a meeting where he just fucking berated him about his position on Israel. And Charlie Kirk apparently came out of that meeting allegedly like legitimately worried that something was going to happen to him. Now, this is just what people are saying. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But that's that. That is what people have been saying about that situation, and that's why that conspiracy theory has been cropping up about fucking Israel and the Mossad being behind this. But once again, it's a conspiracy theory. We'll round out this section too with this last one here. Charlie Kirk said, quote, "Most people are afraid when they see a black pilot flying a plane." Well, once again, though, not enough of a neo-Nazi for the Groypers. Okay, so the next section we have here is things Kirk said about COVID and about the pandemic and vaccines and stuff.
This is going to piss me off. I
knew this was going to piss you off, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in 2021, Charlie Kirk compared Joe Biden's vaccine efforts to a, quote, apartheid-style open-air hostage situation. That's the quote there. Even though TP USA co-founder Bill Montgomery, the guy that he founded his organization with, died the previous year from COVID-related health complications. The organization also made misleading claims about the dangers of catching COVID-19. Kirk's spokesperson said they are not anti-vax, reiterating that, quote, "The vaccine makes logical sense for millions of Americans, but they should, quote, have the freedom to choose." That's the end of that quote there. This is what I want to say this quick, though. This is what I was talking about before, about how they skirt the edges. They don't admit to being racist or anti-vax or any of this stuff, but they'll say all of this shit.
They'll say all of the things that the racists and the anti-vax people want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to break this down. An apartheid-style open hostage situation, almost like an open-air prison. I wonder where that's happening right now. But those people. Yeah, but those people don't exist. Their identity doesn't exist. They're just, they're all just Hamas, whatever. And then your business partner, Bill Montgomery, dies the previous years from COVID-related health complications.
Yep.
It's almost like, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was like over 1 million, maybe 2 million Americans died from COVID.
I'll say this too from my own personal experience. I have somebody in my family, I'm not going to say who, during the pandemic, they said various things such as the doctors are lying. This is what they said. I want to stress that, YouTube, I don't agree with this, but this is what somebody in my family said, which I disagree with. They said that doctors were faking the COVID numbers to get a bunch of money and grants. They said that, this is what Charlie Kirk said here too, vaccine was experimental, that there's more people having like adverse reactions and it's not helping people, or like more people than they admit.
more adverse reactions than, having COVID.
They're lying. They're lying about all the people who are dying from the vaccine. Like, they just say nonsense like this, and it's one of the reasons I cut them off, along with them saying that women shouldn't have the right to vote, and they got it less than 100 years ago, even though in my country it's been over 100 years.
Yeah.
I'm just an idiot.
My family has been affected by COVID-19. I know so many people who at least know one person or are related to someone who has passed away from COVID-19. America, we make up a large portion, a large chunk of the pie of the number of COVID deaths that happened around the world.
Yep.
And to say that, while we just came out of a pandemic. When did he say this shit? Like it was a year after.
So that was in 2021. That stuff is from.
This is while the pandemic was technically still happening. I think like people say the pandemic ended around 2023, even though like COVID's still a thing.
Yeah, it never really ended.
No. We still get new strains of COVID. You still have to go get vaccinated for COVID yearly.
Well, in America now, in a lot of places, like they don't allow you to get the COVID vaccine unless you get like a prescription from your doctor or something. It's really fucked up.
It's just a way to kill off poor people.
Okay. I haven't even finished reading this one section of this section here. Kirk advocated against vaccine mandates and passports for healthy young people. He also advised people not to wear masks, including telling parents that they should not make their kids wear masks. And this was during the pandemic. Go ahead, bro.
I hate this fucking country sometimes because we are so fucking individualistic. We are so selfish. We don't think about other people. We don't think, hey, if we all, come together as one country to accomplish a single goal, that we can just be done with COVID. Like if everyone would have stayed in their house for like a month and not gone out and talked to anyone, we would have the lowest death rate. But we never did that.
Fuck that, I need to go to Outback Steakhouse. Yeehaw, we're going to Lone Star next weekend.
If we would have worn masks properly, which I know a lot of people didn't, they would wear them on their chin. They would have their nose exposed. I remember I worked during the pandemic and I wore a mask the entire time. Because while I was working during the pandemic, my dad was in the hospital dying from COVID. So
I knew this section was going to get you heated, dude.
Yeah.
Do you see this next one here too? He advocated for the use of hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID, a known scam that did not work.
See, this is also something that like my dad, before he passed away, believed in. He believed in the hydroxychloroquine shit. He believed in like weird, like wives' tale, like cure-alls for COVID. Even though he was a smart, educated man, it's just. He just couldn't see through all of the bullshit that was being spewed to him on social media.
That's one of the frustrating things about the person in my family that I mentioned just a moment ago, because they're a very capable person when it comes to like the job that they do, which is not a job for fucking idiots, by any means. And it's so confusing. Like, how can you be so skilled and have such a knack for this and be a smart person in all these ways and then just be a fucking idiot? Like, the same family member that I'm talking about legitimately gives credence to flat earth. He's like, oh, it doesn't make any sense and the world's probably flat. The flat earthers, they have a lot of good points. And I'll just be like, who benefits from this? And he's like, what are you talking about? They all benefit. It's like, oh my fucking God, man. It just hurts your brain, It's like, how am I like, what the fuck happened to you? Genuinely disturbing.
You fell down a right-wing pipeline on the internet. You fell down a rabbit hole.
I know with a family member of mine, it was Instagram. I know that's what.
Fuck. Okay. Kirk said during the pandemic that President Biden is sending goons door to door to make sure that you take a COVID vaccine. Facebook ads from Kirk's tax-exempt nonprofit insist the government has no right to force you to inject yourself with an experimental vaccine, and says that the best response to outreach about the shots is to lock your doors, kids. Okay, people forget that the president who got the vaccines shipped so quickly was President Donald Trump.
Yeah, Operation Warp Speed.
Warp Speed was his child. He tried to take credit for it during the Biden presidency, and he would get booed for it by right-wingers. And he still, even recently, he said that Operation Warp Speed was a good idea. And this was conflicting with whatever Health and Human Services was saying, what RFK Jr. was saying.
Speaking of RFK, Charlie Kirk advocated for imprisoning Anthony Fauci and at the same time boosted RFK early on and helped him gain recognition in this political sphere outside of just being a Kennedy.
Guys, the left is anti-vax, though. The left wing are the real racists. They're the real anti-vaxxers. They're the real science deniers.
You know, the crazy thing is, like, a while ago, years and years and years ago, if you were to ask me, who can you think of that's anti-vaccine? The few people I could have thought of on the spot were people who were, like, nominally or sensibly left-wing or, like, center-left.
Yeah, like, it was like Hollywood cranks, like Jim Carrey.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the things that I was thinking of. Yeah, and the lady he was dating at the time, whatever her name was, and a couple other people.
Right-wing reactionary politics do not get anything done. They purposefully harm the country. Because, like, another thing, like sending goons door to door to make you take the COVID vaccine. I never had a goon show up to my door. Did you have
nonsense?
Well, I know you're Canadian. Did you have a goon show up to your door?
No, I just got I got a thing that I signed up for where it was like, hey, there's vaccine thing available in your area now, and I was like, good, let me go get my first round of the shots, and then you know what? I got the first one, I got the follow-up one, and then that's it. And that's all that anyone was ever asked to do.
From my understanding, Canada was way more strict on the vaccine than America was.
I mean, there was the way that they rolled it out was that older people got it first, and then over time, people who were progressively younger and younger got access to it. They were pretty careful with how they rolled it out and operated everything. Like, there was one that I think I wasn't allowed to get because of, like, a certain age range or something like that. But, I mean, they did pretty good for the most part. Just these fucking right-wingers want to relitigate this fucking pandemic shit so much. It's insane. I just want to read this last part here. Because it goes into what we were saying before. Though Charlie Kirk, and this is me just kind of editorializing here with how I'm phrasing this, but though Charlie Kirk attempted to skirt the anti-vax label that was, in my opinion, correctly laid upon him, Facebook at the time, TPUSA was trying to run like paid posts, like advertisements, which they've done fucking endlessly for years and years and years. Facebook rejected several of Turning Point USA's paid posts for violating its policy against ads that discourage somebody from getting a vaccine. It's crazy when you think about it because these sites want to take your money. Like, this is how they survive. They run these ads, right? And they're like, we're sorry, we can't take your money. You're being a fucking insane anti-vaxxer.
Reactionary right-wing politics is a plague on this country, a lot like COVID-19. And it makes people work against their own best interests.
True.
It makes people try and fit themselves into a mold that they can't fit themselves into. Like the Christian family man with a wife that has 3.5 kids. It tells you that you are the cause of all of your failings, even though it might be a systemic issue. And it tries to excuse the inaction of the government, which takes our tax dollars to help support our infrastructure, medical infrastructure, roads, bridges. It takes that, and it makes you, an American citizen, point the finger not at the government, but at your neighbor. Because your neighbor might think differently than you, and we can see it in the racism, in the sexism / queer people, women section. This is a plague on our fucking society. And even after saying all of that and reading all of these fucked up quotes that he said, I still think that it was awful what happened to him. I still don't think that things should have turned out the way that they did. I wish that people would just wake up and realize that these people are misdirecting you.
I mean, it's like you said, they believe that everything bad that happens to a person, like, you become homeless, that's your fault. It's moral failing. You get addicted to drugs because of whatever situation. That's a moral failing. That's on you. You're a horrible person.
You broke your arm and then your doctor prescribed you opiates and now you're addicted to opiates because he kept refilling your prescription even when you didn't need them. Yeah, that's a you problem. This isn't the doctor's fault. This isn't the drug company's fault. No, it's your fault.
Yeah, you're talking about the systemic issues behind this stuff. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Purdue Pharmaceuticals, they straight up knew that the drugs they're putting out, like Oxy and shit, would get people fucking addicted and have all these issues. And they were like, it doesn't matter. We'll probably make a bunch of fucking money. Might even be better for our bottom line. I'll just do it.
You went to college and you have a bunch of student loan debt. Yeah, you got a really dumb degree. Oh, but I didn't get a really dumb degree. Well, you should have got a trade anyway. Whatever. You can't find a job because you don't have experience. That's a you problem.
We're almost done reading the stuff that we have here. So, in the general unhinged insanity section, not as extensive as some of the other ones, Charlie Kirk said, no one should be able to retire. And he basically said that like people should work until they die. You know, if you need the money, I guess if you have enough money, you can just retire and do whatever you want.
Just be working poor until you die.
Essentially,
you don't deserve Social Security. You're just an idiot. You're just an idiot because you didn't have money to store away or to invest.
Should have gotten your money up, man.
Yeah. You should have taken the Hustler University course.
Yeah. He advocated for a theocracy in America and the termination of religious freedoms. Charlie Kirk also said that innocent people dying from gun violence every year in America was a reasonable outcome in order to maintain Second Amendment rights and, just keep the fucking weapons and bullets flowing.
Yeah, we got to pause here. I gotta stop here because the advocating for theocracy and termination of religious freedoms. What happened to the religious freedom to be able to deny people from buying cakes at your Christian bakery?
Well, he thinks that should be the default response because he wants everybody in America under the thumb of a fucking theocratic government who basically dictates that Christianity is the religion of America. He pretty much said that too. I don't have that written here, but he's like, America is a Christian nation. It always has been, which is nonsense, but whatever. We don't have time to
What about Christian sects that think homosexuality and gay marriage are fine? What about those?
No, those are woke.
Okay.
Those are woke. They're not allowed.
All right.
I do also think that it is ironic that Charlie Kirk, I'll just say this. It's ironic. It is undeniably ironic that Charlie Kirk said innocent people dying from gun violence every year in America was like a reasonable thing to happen as long as it was in order to maintain Second Amendment rights. He's like, we don't like that outcome, but it's a reasonable trade-off, essentially what he said. And then he died to public gun violence. There's also some ironic stuff coming up in a second. I think we mentioned it, but yeah.
Yeah. The amount of thoughts and prayers that were sent towards Charlie after his passing, I thought that was kind of ironic too, because I don't think anything legislatively is going to come out of this.
No, it's like I said before. It doesn't matter what happens. They're not going to change their shit.
No, they're just going to use this as like a cudgel to attack left-wing activists, left-wing groups, the Democrats.
Yep.
But they're not going to pass any gun reform. Never going to happen.
Speaking of gun laws that the government wants to implement, this whole like banning transgender people from owning guns thing, I just want to point out how crazy is it that the NRA actually had a principled fucking stance and they came out publicly and they're like, no, you're not doing this. The Second Amendment right applies to everyone. You cannot fucking do this.
But here's the thing. How are you going to tell if someone's trans or not and owns a gun? How? These fucking
right wingers, they have a saying. I don't know if you've heard it, but they basically say, we can always tell.
Oh, whatever.
That's literally what they say. We can always tell when somebody's trans. We can just tell.
Anytime you want to buy a gun from an FFL, you have to show them your penis.
Oh my God, man. It's so dumb. He said that leftists should not be allowed to move to red states.
What about if you're born there? Like you act like leftists don't move out of red states all the time too.
Well, these are the idiots who come up with some of the dumbest fucking shit you've ever heard in your life. So of course they'd say something like this. So let's say that you have everybody living in this state and they're all Republican. They've been they've been pruned. If you have a kid and that kid grows up and is like, you know what? I don't think I agree with this Republican bullshit. What happens?
Yeah, you kick them out.
What the fuck, dude?
You move them to the next state over, or you put them into a re-education camp, into a gulag.
Mm-hmm. So we're almost done here reading off the unhinged shit that Charlie Kirk said while he was still with us. Charlie Kirk said in 2023, quote, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's corrupt tyrant who should honestly... he said that Joe Biden should be, quote, put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America, which he never specified what any of that was.
Great, yeah. But the left is like super violent. We're a cult. We're a death cult that wants to murder everyone that doesn't agree with us. Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to what I said before. They will use any sort of thing against you. They'll try and cancel you. They'll try and get you fired from your job. They'll try and take your free speech away. And it doesn't matter because they think that if you do this thing and you're a Republican, we'll look the other way. Or he might even give you money for it and think that it's based and talk about how awesome you are. But if you're left-wing and you do any of these things and you fight back, then we will try and make you fucking homeless. We will try and send people after you to fucking kill you with the shit that we're saying, you know?
Well, you can be a Democrat and be a scumbag and be friends with the president, like Andrew Cuomo, like Eric Adams.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It's so funny too when they're like talking about just the whole Democrat-Republican thing. They'll talk about like, oh, so you think we should put Bill Clinton in jail too? You think we should put Joe Biden in jail?
Yes.
Like potentially, yeah. Like Joe Biden in jail. I mean, he is a war criminal, so potentially. But
I mean,
like Kirk definitely wasn't talking about any of that.
Yeah, this is like in context of like the Epstein list. I think anyone that's on the Epstein list should just go to prison. You know, well, they should go to jail first, and then they should be tried. Yeah, they should be tried. But I don't think that they should have bail. I don't think they should be able to leave the country. I think that they should be held until we figure out everything that's going on.
Yeah. Let me read this last bit here because there's just a couple points. And this section is titled, to those who say that more people should have sympathy for Charlie. Because there are a lot of people out there saying, oh, people aren't being empathetic enough. People are making jokes. This man was publicly executed, so on and so forth. Let me just read a couple of these things here to give people some more context for what Charlie thought about some of these things. Because this is stuff that Charlie said. It's really, really relevant here. So when Paul Pelosi, husband of Nancy Pelosi, had somebody break into his house and attempt to murder him with a hammer, he had to go to the hospital afterwards and be treated for his injuries. I guess, luckily in this case, he did not die. Charlie Kirk advocated for bailing out the man who attempted to murder Paul Pelosi, made a bunch of flippant jokes about the attempted murder, talked about how funny it was. He was smiling a lot. He thought it was awesome.
He said it was like a gay lover.
Yeah, just totally just making up lies. So here's a direct quote from Charlie Kirk. I can't stand the word empathy. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term and it does a lot of damage. So Charlie Kirk himself did not believe in empathy whatsoever. So if you want to honor Charlie and what he believed, you should just have no empathy for anything ever. Lastly, which I think is extremely ironic, Kirk advocated for public executions and he said that kids should be made to watch them.
I read this article. He said that 12-year-olds, 6th graders, should be forced to watch public executions that would be aired live on TV. And he said that it would bring the crime rate down.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Once again, all I can say, it is extremely ironic that It is extremely ironic that Charlie Kirk said this and then ended up being publicly executed while his kids were watching.
It's just so crazy that these public figures, and it's not just Charlie, they have a huge platform where they can reach hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people, and they're just pumping this garbage straight into their minds.
Yep. I have a final statement here that I wrote myself. I'm just going to read it. I was going to deliver this potentially as a monologue, but we ended up just doing this show here. I'm going to start doing monologues soon to kind of just talk about news stories that maybe don't fit in with the programming that we're doing show to show. But let me read this, and if you disagree at all, we can talk about it right after. Okay. It's not too long. Once again, this is my personal opinion as me, the individual, on this show. Many people out there said that Charlie Kirk practiced politics the right way. Charlie Kirk did not practice politics the right way, as some have said. Nor was he a proponent of open debate, as some people have been saying recently, which is very funny. He was not a proponent of genuine discussion or free speech. He once correctly identified himself and his points as extreme. He was not a moderate, and anybody telling you that is lying. then they're probably a charlatan with a nefarious agenda. Charlie Kirk, since he turned 18, was a soulless, calculated, cynical operator who worked as a political mouthpiece and propaganda proprietor for elite right-wing fundamentalist Christian interests in America. He worked closely with those in the government, as he called them his friends in the administration. That's a quote from him. He pushed the American people further and further towards an authoritarian, theocratic ethno-state, where women, queer people, the disabled, or the mentally challenged, anyone else who wasn't white, essentially, would be second-class citizens with little or no human rights or power in society. He was a puppet of powerful, rich mega donors and corrupt Republican politicians who worked with him closely to spread vile hatred, sow division, and turn the youth of America into effectively neo-Nazis, a modern-day Hitler youth, if you will. He did not practice debate in an open, honest, or intellectually rigorous way. TPUSA videos of his debates on college campuses were heavily selectively edited to only include clips that made Kirk look like he was, quote, owning the libs, which is a hilarious contention when you realize he only debated teenagers who were fresh out of high school, who did not have the knowledge, articulation skills, nor the experience with debates or prepared talking points, they just did not really know how to deal with the cheap tricks that he used to dunk on people for internet clicks, clout, and money. As Will Menaker of Chapo Trap House said, he was a con man who shot off canned zingers at pimply adolescents who were still in school and still likely living with their parents. Right-wing debate god Chuck Kirk pwns a classroom of students. What a master debater he was, eh? You'll be hard-pressed to find many examples of Kirk debating professors or actual intellectuals, because the few times he actually did, he got mercilessly eviscerated. Go check out Charlie Kirk versus Cambridge Professor if you'd like to see him get effortlessly trounced in less than 10 minutes by somebody who actually has credentials and knows what they're talking about and has experience debating these types of things. But anyways, as I was saying, in conclusion, Charlie Kirk did not care about what anyone had to say, and he did not care about dialogue or the truth. He only cared about enriching himself and achieving power, influence, and status through TPUSA, his organization, and through his association with politicians and billionaires. So we'll wrap this up quickly by looking at two articles that give us some insight into Charlie, who he was, what he did with his brief time on Earth. So this quick one, we're not going to read like all these articles, but I will recommend you guys go read them in full yourself to see what's popping. So this first one here is from 2017. Conservative nonprofit that seeks to transform college campuses faces allegations of racial bias and illegal campaign activity. Turning Point touts its close relationship with the president's family. Once again, this is 2017. The group's website promoted Don Jr.'s appearance for weeks, featuring a photo of him raising a clenched fist. Its promotional materials included a quote from the younger Trump praising Turning Point. "What you guys have done is just amazing." Laura Trump, the wife of Don Jr.'s brother Eric, is also involved with the group. In West Palm Beach on Monday, she hosted a luncheon promoting Turning Point's coming Young Women's Leadership Summit. The group's 24-year-old executive director and founder, Charlie Kirk, told me that he counts Don Jr. as a personal friend. Turning Point casts itself as a grassroots response to what it perceives as liberal intolerance on college campuses. So on and so on. There's a little bit of puff here. But I want to read this. This is the relevant part. As Turning Point's profile has risen, so has scrutiny of its funding and tactics. Internal documents that I obtained, as well as interviews with former employees, suggest that the group may have skirted campaign finance laws that bar charitable organizations from participating in political activity. Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. Former employees say that they were directed to work with prominent conservatives, including the wife of the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, in aid of Republican presidential candidates in 2016. Wow, I didn't know that. Dude, the corruption and the graft goes so deep. What the fuck? Perhaps most troubling for an organization that holds up conservatives as the real victims of discrimination in America. Turning Point USA is also alleged to have fostered an atmosphere that is hostile to minorities. I'm personally not shocked to hear that. Screenshots provided to me by a source show that Crystal Clanton, who served until last summer as the group's national field director, sent a text message to another Turning Point employee saying, quote, "I hate black people. Like, fuck them all. I hate blacks. End of story." Wow. Okay. Clanton, who resigned after serving as the group's second highest official for 5 years, at first declined to comment. This is a quote from her, I guess they got later. "I'm no longer with Turning Point and wish not to be a part of the story. I have no recollection of these messages and they do not reflect what I believe or who I am. And the same was true when I was a teenager."
Listen, you can say that you hate black people, but you have to do it in a very sneaky, roundabout way. Like, you have to say stuff like, Yeah, anytime I see a black pilot, I think, they stole that job from a white guy.
Well, this was in 2017. They weren't allowed to be that based yet, as they would say. They had to hide their power level, as the 4chaners would say.
DEI wasn't a term yet. I don't even think woke was, but I think SJW was, but
DEI back then stood for Duh Economy Intact, which we no longer have, unfortunately. So, John Ryan O'Rourke, the former Turning Point employee who received the text messages from Clanton, requested that the messages, quote, not be used in any article or background information concerning Turning Point. This is a direct quote from him, and declined to comment on them. Kirk said in an email that, quote, Turning Point assessed the situation and took decisive action within 72 hours of being made aware of the issue, soon after Clanton left the organization.
See, you'll have right-wingers say stuff like TPUSA isn't full of Nazis, that they're not racist, that they're not sexist, that they're not homophobic. You know, they have diversity in TPUSA, but then you have someone like this who is the second in command saying the most unoptical shit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even back then, this is former Turning Point employees. Which one? Gabrielle Faquer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Former Turning Point employee, said that she was the only African American hired as a field director when she worked with the group 3 years ago. So that was in 2014. She also said, this is a quote from her. They, quote, spoke badly about black women having all of these babies out of wedlock. It was really offensive. Kirk's response to that was, these accusations are absolutely baseless and even absurd. Years later, he went on to say all the shit that we read earlier. She was fired on, Clanton fired her on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Of course, Clanton fired her.
Wow, dude. Speakers at Turning Point events on various college campuses have been accused of going out of their way to thumb their noses at ethnic and cultural sensitivities. The conservative provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos, whose appearance Turning Point co-hosted with the college Republicans at the University of Colorado in Boulder, said that despite being gay, he hated, can't even say this on YouTube, F-slurs, lesbians, and feminists who he said, quote, fucking hate men. In an effort to mock campus opposition to hate speech, members of the Turning Point chapter at Kent State University staged a protest last fall in which they appeared on campus wearing adult diapers and sucking on pacifiers while proclaiming safe spaces are for children. It's so funny because these days they basically want right-wing safe spaces. The protest stirred widespread ridicule, and Kirk's spokesman said that he disapproved of the display and later issued guidelines against other chapters repeating it. I'm not surprised he did that because all the fucking people at Turning Point USA chapter at Kent State University, they fucking came onto campus wearing adult diapers and sucking on pacifiers. This was 8 years ago, but they're still so bad at doing stuff like this. I dressed up as a fucking baby. I'm wearing a diaper and sucking on a pacifier to own the libs.
You know, you don't have to wear the diaper. You could have just held up a bag of Huggies or a box of Huggies and said, "Do you need this?" And you could have thrown pacifiers at them. You didn't actually have to put on the diaper and dress like a baby. But
I mean, you may as well have just printed "safe spaces are for children" on block text on a T-shirt and then put an image of a diaper on it. That would
you could have.
That still would have sucked.
It still would have, but it would have been better than dressing like a baby.
Yeah, it would have been not as bad, but it still would have been so lame. Imagine if somebody did that while you're in college. It's just what the fuck is wrong with these losers?
I would have thought it would have been some frat shit.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Kirk grew up, and nobody cares. This is just fucking fluff. An older acquaintance encouraged him to forego college and launch a conservative analog to the progressive advocacy group MoveOn.org. Kirk acknowledged in an interview that it is something of an irony that he heads an organization devoted to waging political warfare on campus when he never actually attended college himself. Quote, I joke that I wasn't smart enough to go to a 4-year college. 4-year school, sorry. Oh my god, dude.
Well, the guy became a millionaire either way, so.
Well, not anymore. Move On, however, has one part set up as a super PAC and another as a 501c4 social welfare group, both of which are legally allowed to engage in political elections. It also has a policy of disclosing the names of anyone contributing $5,000 or more. In contrast, Turning Point is a 501c3 charity. This means that unlike Move On donors, Turning Point donors can take tax deductions for their contributions and remain anonymous. In exchange for these benefits, however, the Internal Revenue Service strictly prohibits charities such as Turning Point from engaging either directly or indirectly in political elections. Several former Turning Point employees told me in interviews that they felt they were asked to participate in activities that crossed lines drawn by campaign finance laws for groups like theirs. Peyton Hall, who worked for Turning Point during the 2016 presidential campaign, told me that Clanton, who was her boss at the time, emailed her at her Turning Point address to make arrangements for her to coordinate with Ginny Thomas, the wife of the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, to help Ted Cruz's presidential campaign. They're trying to get Ted Cruz elected before Trump fucking swung through. Oh my God. That's where the ambiguity began, Hall recalled. Soon after, she said, Ginny Thomas, who is supporting Cruz's candidacy and is on Turning Point's advisory council, left a voice message for Hall and her sister, who also worked for Turning Point, saying that she was sending 200 Cruz placards to them to distribute in the coming Wisconsin presidential primary. So yes, thank you for correcting what I said, but even with the correction, they weren't following that. It goes on to give some more information. They gave out employees' personal information to the wife of a Supreme Court justice. The next thing she knew, she said hundreds of Cruz placards arrived at her home. We threw them out. Trevor Potter, a former Republican commissioner on the Federal Elections Commission, who is the founder and president of the Campaign Legal Center, a nonpartisan campaign finance law watchdog group, said that Turning Point is barred from aiding political campaigns. There's a quote from him where he details it, but it's not really that necessary to read. He does say here, if what Turning Point USA was doing was helping Republicans on campus and feeding them to campaigns, that's a political operation, and it sounds as if it crosses the line. Ginny Thomas declined to comment. They have a bunch of other quotes on here from people who are basically like, yeah, this is all a sham. This article is quite extensive. Oh yeah, this is important. Kirk's ties to fossil fuel magnates are controversial because Turning Point has helped organize opposition on campuses to students calling for schools to divest from fossil fuel companies. Turning Point distributed a guide for college students with a foreword by Kirk titled, quote, 10 Ways Fossil Fuels Improve Our Daily Lives. In it, he argues, across the nation, college students are clamoring for their campuses to divest from fossil fuel. This is the last part I'll read from this article. Last May, the Chronicle of Higher Education published an investigative report on what it called Turning Point's, quote, stealth plan for political influence. The story recounted accusations on multiple campuses that the group had funneled money into student elections in violation of the spending caps and transparency requirements set by those schools. It detailed how student candidates backed by Turning Point had been forced to drop out of campus elections at the University of Maryland and Ohio State, quote, after they were caught violating spending rules and attempting to hide the help they received from Turning Point. It also quoted Kirk saying in an appearance before a conservative political group in 2015 that his group was, quote, investing a lot of time and money and energy into student government elections. Kirk denied any wrongdoing. A copy of a Turning Point brochure prepared for potential donors that I obtained provides a glimpse into the group's tactics. Phase 1 calls for victory in the Power 5 conference schools. And it goes on here. It's very detailed. Once again, this is an article in the New Yorker. The headline is Conservative Nonprofit That Seeks to Transform College Campuses. Highly recommend you all go check it out. I'm just going to read a little bit from this one because this one is also another long one. We're going to read the headline and then a couple of paragraphs because the headline pretty much tells you most of what you need to know here. Pro-Trump Youth Group, it's TPUSA, enlists teens in secretive campaign likened to Troll Farm, prompting rebuke by Facebook and Twitter. This is from 2020. One tweet claimed coronavirus numbers were intentionally inflated, adding, "It's hard to know what to believe." Another warned, "Don't trust Dr. Fauci." A comment section argued that mail-in ballots, quote, will lead to fraud for this election, while an Instagram comment amplified the erroneous claim that 28 million ballots went missing in the past 4 elections. These messages have been emanating in recent months from the accounts of young people in Arizona seemingly expressing their own views, standing up for President Trump in a battleground state and echoing talking points from his re-election campaign. Far from representing a genuine social media groundswell, however, the posts are the product of the sprawling yet secretive campaign that experts say evades the guardrails put into place by social media companies to limit online disinformation of the sort used by Russia during the 2016 campaign. Teenagers, some of them minors, are being paid to pump out the messages at the direction of Turning Point Action, an affiliate of Turning Point USA, the prominent conservative youth organization based in Phoenix, according to 4 people with independent knowledge of the effort. Their descriptions were confirmed by detailed notes from relatives of one of the teenagers who recorded conversations with him about the efforts. The campaign draws on the spam-like behavior of bots and trolls, with the same or similar language posted repeatedly across social media. But it is carried out, at least in part, by humans paid to use their own accounts, though nowhere disclosing their relationship with Turning Point Action or the digital firm brought in to oversee the day-to-day activity. One user included a link to Turning Point USA's website in his Twitter profile until the Washington Post began asking questions about the activity. In response to questions from the Post, Twitter on Tuesday suspended at least 20 accounts involved in the activity for, quote, platform manipulation and spam. Facebook also removed a number of accounts as part of what the company said is an ongoing investigation. The effort generated thousands of posts this summer on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, according to an examination by the Post and an assessment by an independent specialist in data science. Nearly 4,500 tweets containing identical content that were identified in the analysis probably represent a fraction of the overall output. The months-long effort by the tax-exempt nonprofit is among the most ambitious domestic influence campaigns uncovered this election cycle, said experts tracking the evolution of deceptive online tactics. I'll read this quote here as the last part of this article, but once again, I recommend you go and read it. It is in the Washington Post. Turning Point Action enlists teens in troll farms spreading misinformation. That's the other alternative headline they give. But the quote here is from Graham Brookie, director of the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab. He says, in 2016, there were Macedonian teenagers interfering in the election by running a troll farm and writing salacious articles for money. In this election, the troll farm is in Phoenix. So, yeah, that's what Charlie Kirk was doing with his organization, besides spreading fucking propaganda to people on college campuses and doing these fake debates and then turning them into YouTube videos. They were literally doing concentrated, targeted, inauthentic behavior through fucking troll farms where they paid people to go out and spread bullshit.
So he was Lex Luthor in the new James Gunn Superman movie with his pocket dimension, Arizona, with a bunch of monkeys wired up with computers to just type out hate messages online.
This is why I've had to stop myself from like arguing with chuds on Twitter, because like you think about it and you're like, I don't even know if this is a real person or AI, and even if it is a real person, I don't even know if this person genuinely believes this or they're being paid to like spread these talking points.
Yeah, dead internet theory.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The amount of people talking about dead internet theory these days, like you can't blame them. It's pretty much it's right there. You can see it's dead. All right, well, that's the end of what I gathered for us to talk about. Do you want to say anything else about Charlie Kirk here? We had some other stories, but we're going to leave that for another night. We just went too long on this. What's up?
The response to the passing of Charlie has been awful. On the right, I've heard calls to violence. I've heard people talking about like civil war. I've heard the richest man in the world say that this brilliant young man was poisoned by leftist ideology.
Oh my God.
He's talking about the shooter. I don't see anything good coming from this. We have divisive leaders right now that are trying to push their agenda, and part of their agenda is to demonize the opposition, which happens to be the more sensible party, in my opinion.
They're trying to crack down on trans people so fucking hard, it's unreal. Just blaming all this on trans people. At first, they're like, the shooter is trans. And then they're like, the shooter's partner was trans. The shooter played a game that had some trans stuff in it. Like, they're reaching so fucking hard.
Have you played Helldivers 2?
No, I actually have not. But that's another thing, too. A lot of the things that they thought were, like, leftist talking points were, like, memes from Helldivers, too.
Or, like, I think one of them was, like, a furry meme.
Apparently, yeah.
Like, notices bulge is apparently notices bulge is like a furry thing. I've never heard of that before. But
one of the craziest things, if it turns out to be true, because we just don't know at this point, is the possibility that this shooting was done for a meme. I'm not even joking. Like, if there's no political motivation behind this, then it's very possible that this was a, unhinged fucking psycho who was like, let me blow Charlie Kirk's fucking head off as a joke. As a meme.
I shouldn't be laughing at that. But
how else do you respond to that? How else do you respond to this shit?
Yeah, because it's just so fucking ridiculous that's the reasoning for committing like an act of violence that's probably gonna fucking tear us apart. You know, I fucking hate this world, man. This really is an evil planet.
Yeah, that's why I knew we had to talk about this, because this is indicative of what the whole fucking premise of this show is, you know? Oh man. And it's crazy that they're trying to fucking say like Trump's gonna pull through for his good friend Charlie Kirk and make sure his death wasn't in vain. Meanwhile, Trump's like, who's Charlie Kirk? Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel said bad things about me, said I didn't cry enough, so he's gonna be banned now.
Yeah, so much for free speech. They're kicking Colbert off the air, they're kicking fucking Kimmel off the air. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to get Jimmy Fallon. I think they're gonna do a false flag on Jimmy Fallon.
He's too squeaky clean. They're just going after like late night TV hosts. That's how boomer brain these people are.
Is that what they're doing is essentially a purge. You know, they've purged the government, they've purged these institutions. Now they're trying to purge the media of anybody who's critical of Trump.
Yeah, they're purging old media. They're gonna purge online media very soon.
This might backfire. You know, like what if somebody takes his spot and then, you know, flips the fucking script and is even more anti-Trump. Like, I don't know, man. Like, so much of the stuff that's happening right now is so evil and so sinister and so depressing and so dark. But I don't know. What do you think is going to happen in the midterms and then the next presidential election? Do you think the backlash is going to work and we're going to flip again?
I think they're going to try and do everything in their power to rig the midterms. They're already trying to do it by getting more seats and redistricting. Yeah. Like in Texas and other conservative states. I think they're trying to do that.
The gerrymandering wars are here.
Yeah. So they're trying to keep, at least the House, they're trying to keep as conservative as possible. But I think that even with the gerrymandering, there's going to be a massive blue wave because a lot of people's pockets are... they're crying.
They're hurting.
Their wallet. Yeah, they're hurting. People don't have as much disposable income as they did. Inflation is crazy.
Yep.
Everything is like groceries are up across the board at like at least 6 to 8% on almost everything. Ground beef, eggs.
Ooh, yeah.
There's
it's bad.
The housing market is fucked. People can't afford, homes. And we're not seeing any new like wages, or we're not seeing any new job creation either. The jobs reports for the past 2 months have been terrible. People are afraid to quit their jobs to try and find better ones because they don't think that they can get hired. The only people who can get hired to a new position are people with like 10 years experience.
Yeah.
AI is being used now instead of workers. That's scary.
Yep.
We are still bombing Gaza. We're doing some fuckery in Venezuela now.
We'll talk about this on the next show, but did you see that there's multiple ships that have been destroyed and bombed now?
Yeah,
coming out of Venezuela?
It's been 2 now, right?
I think there may have even been a third one. Don't quote me on it, but there's been at least 2. Yeah.
These are 2 very small boats that have just been blown the fuck up.
And someone made a good point about the first one that got blown up, which was like, wasn't there like 12 people on it or something? Or maybe the second one, like, what the fuck is going on?
It turned around and headed back towards Venezuela, and they shot them down as they were heading back. You just murdered people.
Remember when the USA had a whole fucking whistleblower scandal about people leaking videos of like, 10, 15 years ago of them just killing civilians in the Middle East? And they're like, how dare you? And now they just release it. And they're like, here you go.
The
Nisor Square massacre.
Yeah. I was about to say Nissan. The Nissan Square. Get shot.
Crazy how times change. What the fuck, man? Now they're just posting it. They're proud of it.
Yeah. We live in an age where you can just film yourself shooting Palestinians, blowing up all of the high-rise buildings in Gaza. and then claim that you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking deranged, man.
Yeah. I want to move the fuck out of this country so fucking bad. I just can't think of anything to be proud of, and it's sad. I'm just seeing the further decline of my country.
I mean, you guys have some pretty good barbecue in the South. I don't know if I can think of anything else.
I mean, I can be proud of like the culture to some extent.
Some of it.
But like being number one in education, math, science, space travel, healthcare, infrastructure, just being just being a functioning democracy. I can't say that anymore.
I was proud to be an American, but then I realized I'm not free.
Yeah, and now I'm afraid to say what I'm thinking. I don't have freedom of speech anymore.
That's what they want.
Effectively.
They want you to be afraid to express your opinion, unless your opinion is Trump is awesome and he should be king for life. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Gord. Another one in the bag. It's going to be nice to record the next one and have Tryptamine back on. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it on this one, but I'm sure they'll be on the next one. I will talk to you soon, brother. You have a good rest of your night, man.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.